Welcome back to another UNC basketball recruiting podcast here on TarHeelIllustrated.com. And if you're checking us out on our YouTube channel, Tar Heel Illustrated, I'm THI publisher Andrew Jones, and joining me is Rivals.com national recruiting analyst Eric Bossi. Eric, it's the first time we've actually had you on for a podcast, so I'm very, very excited about that. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Glad to be here.
All right. You had a chance this past weekend to check out Hunter Sallis. He might be the most talked about target of UNC's at this time. He's a kid that's got tremendous skills. Some people say he's a point guard. Some people say he's just sort of a lead combo guard. You saw him a couple days ago. What is he in your mind?
On the college level, he's whatever you need him to be. He can play 1 through 3 in the college game because he's got to be at least 6'5" now. Seems to be on his way to 6'6". He handles the ball really well. He's explosive. He's elusive. He's not a shot jacker by any means. He does everything within the flow of the game. So he's just a really versatile guy that you can play in several roles. He kind of reminds me a little bit of a guy like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. It's not a perfect example, but just this long, lanky dude who's really elusive with the ball and gets to the rim and makes good decisions.
In watching a lot of film on him, which I have, it looks to me like he's just a guy that has great awareness and could do a lot of different things. He can get by guys, but makes it look sort of effortless. He's quicker than maybe he might appear because the way he can get by people, he can get into the lane and score over guys. Is his game just kind of well-rounded in all those areas where he can do those things?
Yeah, for sure. And this is a kid who it keeps coming in stages. Saw him play last summer for the first time. I was like, oh, wow, I like this guy. I really like the way he passes the ball. He's got pretty good size. He's about 6'3" at the time. Looked like he'd be able to do some scoring, and he just keeps getting bigger and more athletic and rounding out his game. He's a gym rat. He works on his game tirelessly, and he's also interesting in the fact that here we've got a top 10-ish ranked player in the country who really hasn't been seen nationally. There's some film from his high school season and stuff like that, but normally guys like this, we've known about him forever, and there's millions of mixtapes and things like that, and you just don't have that with him. So there's also some intrigue with him because as much as people talk about him, no one's really gotten to get a great feel for him unless you've been fortunate enough like me. I made the trip up to Omaha to see him this winter. I've seen him recently in person. I've been able to see the progression firsthand rather than just having to rely on everyone's word for it when there's not much film or highlights or things like that to go around like you would normally see with a guy ranked like he is.
Well, you said 6'3" a year ago, and you mentioned that he might even get to 6'6". Do you think he's going to be about 6'6"? And if that's the case, can he be a 1 through 3 guy eventually?
Yeah, that's what I like about him. That's what I was saying in college. I really do think he's a 1 through 3 guy. He's wherever you like to use him. I know Roy Williams likes to have 3 guys who can handle and pass. His best teams have always kind of featured multiple playmakers. So I think he fits those roles, and he's got good genes. His mother was a big-time basketball player. She's in the Nebraska State Hall of Fame for, I think she was 2-time State Player of the Year. In high school, she played at San Diego State. She was drafted in the WNBA. There's a lot going there, and I love these guys that kind of come out of nowhere, so to speak, that keep getting better every time you see them and really aren't concerned about hyping themselves up a bunch.
You guys did something last week on ranking the contenders, and of course you had UNC in there, Kansas, Gonzaga, Oregon, Nebraska, and I think Creighton were the 6 schools. With respect to Carolina, how much does what Caleb Love do this year, how much will that maybe affect where Hunter Sallis eventually goes, or will it affect it at all?
I guess it depends, because here's what we've got going on. Hunter, I spent quite a while sitting down and talking with him. I'm going to have an article coming on that shortly. He really, really wants to take visits before he proceeds with his next step in things. And right now, we just don't know when guys are going to be able to take visits. We don't know what exactly is going to happen with the season. And say there's some coaches who are speculating it could be even January before kids are allowed to take official visits again and colleges are allowed to host guys. Well, if that's the case, that can be pretty hurtful to a school like Carolina, just because it's a stressful process, and these guys are I think you've seen it. We've got kids committing like crazy, right, all over the country. And some of these guys, they want to take visits, but if they can't take visits, they're going to start cutting lists down and starting to go with the places they're familiar. So while I really like Carolina's chances, the longer things stretch out and if he can't get on campus, that could become pretty problematic for them. The chance to sit down with Roy Williams one-on-one is something that he really, really wants. But also there comes a time when how much longer can you hold off a recruitment and have to move on?
He's not too far from Lawrence. Has he been to KU?
Yeah, he went down to Lawrence towards the end of the season and saw a game, had a really good visit down there. Kansas has been on him pretty hard. You know, I really think he's one that I feel like he's either going to stay home, and by home, I would probably favor Creighton over Nebraska, just based on what I've heard for things, or he's going to go to a blue blood. So visits are very, very key. And then also the one other school that I didn't mention in the ranking contenders that I probably should have, who's actually in there and kind of falls under one that's almost a home school, is Iowa State. They're probably one of the first time majors to really recruit him hard. They've on multiple occasions showed up with their entire staff and things like that. So I don't feel like the Gonzagas, the Oregons, I don't see it happening as much with those, even though they're in them and he went to Gonzaga on an official visit. I really feel it's going to be that blue blood or stay local.
I change gears real quickly before we let you go. You wrote something Tuesday morning about a new kid on the radar for Carolina, 2022 power forward, Taj Manning. New name for a lot of Carolina fans. So what can you tell everybody about this kid?
Yeah, you know, I don't think he's like a major target or anything like that just yet, but he's a guy they tuned in to watch a live stream to watch Mark Mitchell, who they've offered. He's a teammate and good friend of his, and another kid that they've kind of poked around with, Grady Dick, and watched him play. And one of the assistants, I think it was Steve Robinson, who reached out to Taj, is what his dad told me. Just wanted to reach out and say, hey kid, you know, I really like the way you play. You have the kind of things that we look for. He's a high motor kid. He's a versatile kid, but he's also he's a little bit undersized. He's a 6'6" power forward right now. So he's probably going to need to grow a little bit or develop into more of a wing for some of that stuff to come to fruition. But it was just one of those, you know, like, hey, we like you. We want to see how you continue to develop, but just very, very, very early stages on things.
Sounds good. Eric Bossi, a national basketball recruiting analyst for Rebels.com. Thanks so much for stopping by. We're definitely going to call on you a lot more in the future, my friend.
Hey, I appreciate you guys having me on. I enjoyed it.
All right, you've been watching another UNC basketball recruiting podcast right here on TarHeelIllustrated.com and our YouTube channel, Tar Heel Illustrated. Click like if you like this video. Go ahead and hit notification bell so you get updates every time we load all kinds of stuff, and we do that often. Thank you for stopping by.